I call the meeting of the Human Services Committee March 22nd. We got a couple things we're going through, members. Number one, on Monday, I wanted to, I had a couple folks that I really wanted, when we were talking about budgeting, right, that we didn't get a chance to get to. So I want to start off our meeting today, and I'm going to bring up a couple of folks from Scott Kellstrom and Sam Weinberg, who are from the Bayview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. And then we'll go after that, they'll get into some dialogue and conversations, and then members, then we'll take up the DHS policy bill, and we'll go through there. And I know folks have some amendments, but we'll go through that as well. It's markup time, so we can finish it up and then get it to Mr. Monahan as soon as we can, like immediately right away, and he can get the final product for us. Are you okay, members, if we start with, what we didn't get finished on Monday? What's that? Yeah, I think we'll send the bill to the floor. Don't you think? I guess we're going to send the bill to the floor. That's so. Absolutely. Imagine that, you guys. That's okay. We got that one. So, thank you, Liam, for that. So, members, you okay? Does that make sense for the agenda items today? We're good. All right. So, Scott Kellstrom, building administrator from Bayview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, come on up, and Sam Weinberg, who is from St. Louis Park, Minnesota. Welcome home, Sam. Welcome back to the snow. Why don't you should just stay here all the time. I mean, it would be, but in all seriousness, gentlemen, I thank you for coming to the committee to talk about what's the reality of Bayview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, and help us understand that reality, right? Because here we are now having conversations about targets, and well, there was an agreed upon targets. I didn't agree. I wasn't in the black box having that conversation. Other people were. I am to be publicly tell you, I'm grateful for the work that the Senate folks did. Very grateful. I absolutely am grateful. But at the same time, when you look at our desperate needs in the state of Minnesota for the people that are most vulnerable, I got to tell you, sometimes I feel there's a story of this guy named Job, and sometimes I feel like I'm Job. And so at that point, I want to just say we got a lot of work to do, and I think having you two here to talk about the reality of what's happening in greater Minnesota, what's happening to the people that are most vulnerable, to get to the why we started this conversation 2 months ago, I appreciate that. So Mr. Kellstrom and Mr. Weinberg, welcome to the committee, and please, let's hear what's going on, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Hoffman. Thank you, Senator Abler, and the other senators and committee members for the opportunity to testify today about Bayview Nursing and Rehabilitation. This building has a place in my heart. It was my first healthcare job back in the 1990s. I returned recently after an absence, and when I was there originally, our motto back then was, "We will take care of those who no one else will." Now that I've returned to the facility, Bayview Nursing and Rehab continues to fill this vital role in taking care of those who would otherwise remain in hospitals for indefinite periods of time, often at an expense 3 to 4 times what we can provide in services. Among the population currently, we have 90 residents. Among those are 8 ventilator residents. Those are dependent on ventilators 24 hours a day. We also have a waiting list of 15 ventilator dependent residents that we cannot take in right now due to staffing and financial concerns. We also have a traumatic brain injury program which has currently 16 residents. These are among some of the most medically complex and difficult behavioral residents in the state, often needing one-on-one care for more than 10 hours a day. Currently, our rates barely cover the cost of the nursing and nursing assistants that care for these complex residents. And with the added costs of special equipment, monitoring safety devices, non-covered medications, and other expenses, the costs far, far outpace reimbursements for this specific population. Due to staffing and financial pressures, we have turned down up to 30 ventilator patients from across the state, as well as 50 to 60 behavioral residents this year alone. Our inability to serve these people means much higher costs for Medicaid hospitalizations, and they are clogging up the much-needed hospital beds across the state. In May of 2022, due to these pressures, we were forced to close our on-site dialysis unit. My fear is that this is an ominous foreshadowing of things that could come. Unlike many nursing homes, we have not been waiting for legislature to provide additional funding before we've taken action. Between September 15th and July 1st, we reopened our union contract with SEIU, and we increased permanent frontline wages by an average of 20%. Despite these increases, in order to maintain our staffing levels, which we run between 4.5 and 4.8 hours per patient day, to give you a perspective, normal nursing homes in the state run between 3.2 and 3.8. We've been forced to turn to staffing agencies to maintain proper staffing levels. At the end of the day, if Bayview were to close, approximately 25% of our residents, and perhaps more, would likely end up taking up badly needed hospital beds for considerable lengths of time.
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry, Mr. Kallstrom. I just want to make sure I understand what you just said.
Yep.
If you are no longer in operation, 25% of the residents would have to go where?
End up in hospitals typically.
And that's because hospitalization is a mandatory, mandated Medicaid. And right now, I don't know if members were aware, right? We get upwards of 20% of the hospital beds are exactly what you just said. So I just want to make sure I understood what you were saying. So keep going, Mr. Kallstrom.
Without any action at best, Bayview will remain unable to take in the long list of referrals now taking up hospital beds and costing taxpayers 3 to 4 times the amount the care would cost at Bayview. The legislation introduced in the House and Senate this year would recognize the special population that we serve at Bayview Nursing and Rehabilitation and would provide us parity to the Courage Kinney Center, which currently takes care of similar patients which already have this enhanced rate in their reimbursement system. With that said, I'm open to questions. I thank, again, the chairman and the remaining committee members for allowing us to testify today, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Senator Utke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And talking with the gentleman at the testifier station before we started, they currently have 90 people that they're taking care of, but I think you had mentioned you have 146 beds. Is it staffing that's holding you back there also?
Mr. Kallstrom.
Yes, Senator, the main issue that we've been having issues with is staffing issues. There are staff available and out there, and the financial pressures of being able to pay them at wages that other locations, including hospitals and clinics, do, is part of it as well. But yes, staffing is a major issue with our facility, especially with the level of care that we need to provide.
Senator Utke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, kind of the same story we hear time and time again, that the rates hold them back because that's exactly what they need to be able to go out and try to recruit that additional staffing to serve the population they do. And as specialized as they are, they're very unique in the industry. And actually, as I'm talking, I'm trying to type, and I don't multitask very well on a keyboard. So I was going to bring up this statute, but they just need to get to this statute so that they're paid at the level of services that they're providing. And so if we can move them into that category, it'd be wonderful because of the unique work they do. We need their services, and we can sit here and say we need their services, but the people they serve are the ones that really, truly believe and acknowledge that they need their services. So I hope that we can help them out.
No, there's Senate File 2896, Senator Utke. that addresses this, and I think we'll on Monday for our budget markup, that bill is listed in or will be listed in to be heard, and you don't need to come back. I mean, we've heard your testimony, we know the problem, but I just wanted to make sure people understood that it's not just okay. And this is where I'm going to get in the weeds, and I shouldn't, but oh well. There's the VBR system, which people are saying that, the nursing homes are going to be fine, but then you hear from the long-term care imperative, no, the nursing homes aren't going to be fine. And then we hear these exceptions that are out there, and it's like, you took a building that was ready to be taken over by the state, right? And this is something that just absolutely doesn't settle well with me, is that the folks that are receiving the services from you are, one day away from, hanging out in a hospital. It's like, or if our hospital beds are getting full and everybody else is full, where do folks with the most vulnerabilities go? Shelters? We actually have people with disabilities that are being put into homeless shelters because there isn't placement. It's like, how fair is this? And yet, to give this committee, a target that is not going to fulfill the needs of the Minnesotans who really desperately need the services is absolutely beyond. Hence the Job comment, hence the fact that we know what our needs are desperately in the state to get things to where we need to be. I so much appreciate the work that you two do, and thank you for taking over a facility that was not doing well. And now we need to somehow say, not only do we thank you, but on behalf of the people that are most vulnerable that are in your care, we need to do that. And to hear 25% would go to the hospitals, it's just not okay. Senator Radke, we're with you on that. Senator Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to follow up, you mentioned it's 2896, and that's the one I'm looking at here from Senator Druskrowski. The plan is you're going to bring that back up next week when we get into the finances side of our bill, and we're going to do a quick hearing just so we can add it at that time, or just acknowledge that we had testifiers, and we'll say we can move forward with it.
And I think that absolutely, I agree with you on that. I mean, we know that the need is there. This is something that is it needed that somebody else gets. This just clarifies that. If we get some technical assistance on it when we do our markups on Monday, we're basically we'll bring the bill up here. I think there's a fiscal note. I'm sure there is. It's going to have to figure out where within the measly amount of money that I got in our targets to be able to try to pay for these are the most vulnerable people in the state, right? I can, we'll do that. But I'm with you. If you're okay, if we're as a committee is okay, we don't need to have further testimony on the fact that we know it's desperately needed. Is that what your point is?
Exactly. We know what it's all about. And all this is doing is matching them up with the facility in Golden Valley. So the two places in the state providing this exceptional care are on the same playing field financially. And that would help them out a lot. And it's only fair that we do that. So that'd be wonderful.
Thank you, Senator Radke. And then you can actually present the bill when we do it on Monday then, as long as are you on that bill? Well, let's get you on that bill. That doesn't matter. We're good. I think the fact is, members, any other comments or questions for Sam or Scott? Senator Abler.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And actually, I do have a question. Was this in the governor's budget, Mr. Chair, to look after this Rule 80 place that's on the verge of collapse?
Senator Abler, I unequivocally don't know the answer to your question, but I think looking at the spreadsheet last night of stuff that I have to cut now because of the fact that I was giving such low numbers, I didn't see it, Senator Abler. So is that, I didn't see it, so I don't know unequivocally if it is. I don't think so.
Well, I actually don't believe so either, but I'm happy that, Mr. Chair, that the Senate is looking to rescue this place. And I think wisdom and governance is, as a governor or as a chair of a committee or as a member here, is to look at the needs of the state and make sure you're taking care of the biggest needs before you take care of some of the things that are, interesting to do. And so, Mr. Chair, I hope that we can take care of this critical need as a Senate and lead the way. And I hope the House will, the other body will understand the merits, and maybe that your counterpart there will appreciate this important situation and just match us up. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Abler, and I would hope that there's a guy named Dan Pollock running around this building. Maybe he can make sure that the other body gets that same message that we're giving over here. So if you run into Dan Pollock, would you let him know that for us, please? Would appreciate that. That was funny. Hi, Dan. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you. Thank you again. Thank you for caring about this, and welcome home, Sam.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Members, if you want to get your packets out, let's look at Senate File 2818. The first thing you should see, members, is an A1 amendment. It's the delete all. Delete all amendment, which adds all the articles together that need to be, that we had worked on in policy here. If members would like, we could go through that article by article, or we could accept the amendment and then start talking about
Mr. Chair,
Senator Abler.
as a show of good government, would you mind just giving us the highlights of the delete all, and then that would be nice.
That would be wonderful.
Before we vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Abler. I'm wondering if, Mr. Monahan, would you be so kind as to tell us what you were able to construct? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, I'll just give a high overview of how it was put together. You've heard virtually everything that's in it already. So Article 1 contains Senate File 2411. This was a Department of Health bill having to do with the nursing home moratorium changes. So this is the first engrossment of that bill. You may recall you heard it and sent it to the floor. It also contains Senate File 2413, again, the first engrossment. This is a Department of Health bill that had to do with home care and assisted living surveys. It also contains 2414. This was some changes having to do with nursing facility change of ownership language to match the language that currently exists in the assisted living statute. Sorry, I lost track of where I was.
1692 is going to be the next one, I think, right?
Right. So then Article 2 is the first engrossment of 1692 with two changes. One is that Section 45, which was a grant program, I moved to Article 4. And there was also the addition of a second paragraph to the repealer. That second paragraph, paragraph B, repeals the so-called Rule 24. I think that was just omitted at some stage along the way. It was always intended to be there. Article 3 contains the first engrossment of Senate File 1900. This was the DHS policy bill, mostly technical changes in that one. It also contains a rewritten version of Senate File 2746. This was a bill you heard a few days ago having to do with the long-term care surveys. And there was quite a bit of discussion in committee about the data protection provisions. So all of that language was rewritten to firstly better explain the purpose of collecting that demographic data. And I pulled in a definition from the Data Practices Act that defines summary data. And using that definition, should be sufficient to protect the identities of anybody who might be included in the data sets. And it also includes some language about notifying residents that their information was included in the summary data. It also included Senate File 2725. This was a bill that had to do with two facilities that are providing customized living and giving them a exemption to certain limitations on the ages of residents. It also includes the first engrossment of 1567. This was a bill having to do with PCA remote supervision. And finally, Article 4 is a miscellaneous article. It includes the first engrossment of 2282. This was a bill about clarifying who could act as a court examiner. It also includes Senate File 2489. This was a bill about opioid treatment program supervision of clients. And it included the workforce grants that were part of Senate File 1692.
Thank you, Mr. Monahan. Senator Abler. Went through all 4 articles.
It's a great amendment, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I didn't get to see the green sheet, though, but I'm happy to support your amendment, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
The A1, any further questions from members regarding the A1 amendment? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The A1 is adopted. So we went through the full piece of that. Thank you, Mr. Monahan, for that, and thank you for your work on that. Members, any questions from members? There's a list of, I believe, there's 35 amendments that have been brought to my attention. We got a technical amendment there? I got a technical. Which one is that one? I think it's the A4. Let's do that first, shall we? Members, the A4 amendment is in front of you. It's the technical amendment.
Mr. Chair, I move the A4. It's more blessed to give than to receive, but then you will have given. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Abler. Senator Abler moves the A4 amendment to delete give and insert given. All those in members say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The A4 is adopted. We have
Mr. Chair,
Senator Abler.
the bill sadly neglects some topics. As long as it is, it's nearly 80 pages long, and that's, a significant sized bill.
Yep.
And so that would be one of the amendments Senator Berglund used to bring. One amendment would be that size. But anyway, it's a nice bill and solves a lot of things. But it doesn't discuss former students in HIV and substance training. And so, Mr. Chair, for that reason, I'd like to move the A3 amendment.
A3 amendment. Do we have the A3 amendment in front of members? Members? Yes? Senator Abler, to your amendment.
And Mr. Chair, this was heard in the other committee. And we were going to send it here, and nobody wanted, it's on the floor, awaiting action by this body. And so it seems that some of this matter of former students needs to be surely accomplished. And so either this way or the other way would be great. And so hope members can accept it.
I think we can. Any questions on that, members? It's also sitting on the floor, so we're dual tracking that. Senator Udke?
We're just discussing the fact of who directed it to the floor.
Yeah, so, thank you.
It's
Senator
everywhere.
Wickland, I so appreciate, I've tried many times this year to say, send it to the floor, jokingly, and I mean, send it to the floor, because, Senator Marty said, he wants one, single subject line at matter at a time. And this one, it just so happened as well. And then folks said, well, you want to make sure that you dual this. And so, and I jokingly said this, so I'm glad you caught that it's now coming back to this committee, which you originally wanted to send it to this committee, and I convinced you to go to the floor. So it's now both places. Is that okay, members? We're good?
Mr. Chair,
Senator Abler?
I could adapt the amendment for tomorrow's committee in Senator Whitman's bill, if you'd like, just to make sure that it gets the proper coverage. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think you got the crowd over there saying no, Jim, so all right.
Fine.
So, members, the A3 amendment, Senator Mitchell?
Yes.
Did you have a question? No, she's just looking. All right, David said you thought
I'm a little confused. I've never seen a chair sit in the chair while presenting a bill.
Oh, I'm not presenting the bill. We're marking it up.
Just marking it up.
Yeah, we're marking it up. Yeah. Yeah.
He writes his own rules.
Okay.
It's good to be the chair.
I mean, if you want me to go there and do it, it's just, I like this better, though. This is a conversation, right? I mean, this is like, so, we could have, Senator Fate, but the last time I gave the vice chair and the lead the gavel, correct, and so it's going to go to Rasmussen, and then he'll organize it, or I mean, I'm going to go to that side of the table and start giving, or we could just do the markup here. And I've always seen folks do the markups here, and so I wanted to do that this year. I suppose I could have said that, but yeah, I'm sorry they had the confusion. It's kind of like, you watch the Weather Channel on one, and then you flip over and do that's not even going to be funny, so it's not, somebody who used to work at the Weather Channel. All right, members, the A3 amendment, so we're good, A3. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Senator Abler, your A3 amendment has been adopted.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Abler.
I'm happy we've solved given, and taken care of students, but there's another matter which has come before us, and has to do with sober homes. So I'm going to move the A2 amendment, Mr. Chair.
Members, the A2 amendment is in front of you. Senator Abler, to your amendment.
Thank you. And I think it was 2 years ago, we had some substantial hearings about this, and Senator Hoffman, you and I were very unhappy with what we saw of some of that. We intended to get some work done on this, and for some reason, we just didn't get back to it. There was a task force that we did set up, which we're still waiting to hear the results of as a former report. But in the meantime, I think that if we establish a little bit of structure in this otherwise unstructured world, that this would be a good start, and it may be a good end for the session unless we decide we want to do some more things. What this amendment does, it protects the title sober home. And so it says if you're going to be, it means you have to follow the rules. If you're going to be a sober home or similar type operation, you have to follow the federal standards from SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And there is a group called MASH, the Minnesota Association of Sober Homes, that is doing some of its own accrediting, which I think is great. And so if you're a well-run, if you're doing what you're supposed to do already, following these guidelines, then you're allowed to use the word sober home. If you're not following the guidelines, you may not use the word sober home or similar. And then if you choose to become MASH accredited, then good for you, and that would be, I think, appropriate. I think there's a proposal running around that uses MASH as an accrediting agency, and Mr. Chair, if you remember the ARCO business with recovery community organizations, that having a private company, and nothing against MASH, I'm a big fan of them, but I think it's just, it could be problematic. And so that would be voluntary. And, going forward, this may be suitable to add a Bill of Rights along the way, maybe on the floor. But I think, Mr. Chair, this shows that the Senate is actually interested in having a good benchmark. And I think this draws the line. My idea of licensing and credentialing places is if you find the 30 percentile and draw the line there, since 70% are already in, nobody has to do anything different. And then the folks below that can either choose to upgrade their operations, or then they can continue, but they can't be called a sober home.
Got it.
So,
Members, Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it, and thank you, Senator Abler, for bringing the A2 amendment. I think this is a good alternative for this session to what DHS has proposed, which is basically a kind of new regulatory framework for sober homes. And we're still waiting, actually, from DHS for the report that this legislature funded last biennium on sober homes and the work group and their findings. And so I think this is a good step. It'll provide some more clarity on the good operators that are out there and being able to call themselves sober homes. But just wanted to express my concerns with the DHS proposal at this point, given we haven't gotten the working group's report yet.
So, do you remember, Senator Rasmussen, do we know the date that was supposed to come, or the timelines? Or senators that were chairs of these two committees last year are sitting at the same table this year? Do we know? Do we have a date? Do you guys know?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I believe the legislation requested a September 2022 date.
Okay. So I guess the question to the department is, we need somebody to let us know when that's coming, when's it coming, and what are your suggestions about we do? Because there's some other issues with here too. We had talked about the fact that there are some sober homes that aren't fully ADA compliant, and I personally know people that are their mobility is accessed on a wheelchair that needs to get in and were unable to because there was no accessibility for some of those homes. And I mean, that's part of the bigger conversation, but I think the ADA was passed in 1981. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, it's just, I'm tired of having this conversation, right? But to your point, this task force report, we could send a message to the department to get it to us or give us an update. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think, Senator Abler's amendment is, one step in the right direction. I think we'll have some more work to do over the interim on sober homes.
Sure.
But I think a first step is to have that report that this legislature funded and to just understand what some of the takeaways are from that work before we start, a more comprehensive regulatory structure over sober homes or think about that. But I think Senator Abler's amendment, before the committee right now is a step in the right direction. There might be some other steps in the right direction we need to take. But I think what DHS has proposed, which I've heard from a lot of folks, could shut down a lot of sober homes and create kind of new regulatory issues and burdens. I just think that needs some more study over the interim.
So thank you, Senator Rasmussen. I would keep with our committee on this to make sure that we do that. I mean, as soon as we're processing in, that's something that we should do right away in the interim. I'm with you on that. So,
Mr. Chair.
Senator Abler.
Are there any state facilities that are not ADA compliant?
Senator Abler, yes, there are.
Really?
Yeah, so.
I find that to be curious.
They're just old buildings that were, we can have another, that's a deeper conversation.
When they built this building, did they have little push doors on the, push buttons on the doors?
No, they did not, Senator Abler.
Was this a new building or was this a used?
And I love how we just go down another thing. Honest to God, Senator Fate, this was Rick Cardenas, actually, and Rest.
Yeah, Rick, that's twice you mentioned his name today.
I
You're gonna
did.
make me cry.
Rick Cardenas. I miss Rick Cardenas, you guys. And he was kind of pointing out that, how am I going to get from this point to this point? And then I remember Senator Andrest when the doors were there, and even Senator Disick at the time, the chairs were actually lower than what, so there were some questions from people out there saying, well, how, who helped to design this? Just the seating, not the building, but the seating, right? And there wasn't any of those auto doors there. And I'll never forget Senator Rest. God, I love her, man. She's like, Senator Hoffman, what's wrong with this picture? And she stood there in front of the door, and I'm like, true to form as a professor, right? And I said, oh, you can't get in the door. And then she said that was her point. And you know what? They actually then, because of Rick and Senator Andrest, people then started to do that. So sometimes the common sense factor. I mean, if we could have more money in our target, Senator Abler, to give the Council on Disabilities more money to be able to have people be able to provide technical assistance to the different agencies, I would, that would be something that we could fix. Matter of fact, we wanted to give.
Mr. Chair, that would really help.
That would help, wouldn't it? So.
Just one thing else on Memory Lane, building the little, on the front, the cement ramps that were out there. Remember the celebration we had out there?
And the state capitol. Yeah. You know why that?
Why did that happen, Senator?
Because of a guy named Rick Cardenas.
Really?
Because it was not accessible going up. So, I mean, those are the things that really gets to us when we started our conversations here, and I'm glad we're having this conversation about MASH and just about those things. So I appreciate everybody's work on this stuff. So now I can focus back, right? A2 amendment. Members, any more questions for the good senator? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Abler.
I have only one more amendment. Is that okay? If I only have one
Do you
more?
want me to put up a vote to that?
No, I'll just offer it. I'll offer the
Senator
A5.
Senator Abler, members, the A5, is it in front of us, Senator Abler?
And it's,
No, I got it.
it's in
Go
front of you
ahead.
now.
I got it.
Mr. Chair, this has to do with the 24-hour rule. And this, at the very least, will create a Senate position, yeah, please. And it clarifies the current law. And so this says, well, you know, the issue is there's all kinds of people who have been in their places much longer than 48 hours because there's no place to put them. And it's an issue. And so this would simply clarify, to make it clear even to me, that the 48 hours starts after they file the order for commitment. And not when they're arrested, not when there's a space available, but when the commitment order is filed, that's when 48 hours is. That's what we intended in the beginning. Some of the sheriffs are unclear, even talking to some of them. I do have a testifier who can comment about this amendment, Mr. Chair.
So, members, any questions before we go to the testifier for Senator Abler on this? No. And welcome, testifier. Could you please state your name for the record? State your name because I need to say that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Nancy Haas. I'm a lawyer and lobbyist with the law firm of Pohl Haas, and I'm here today on behalf of the Urban County Attorneys Association and the Minnesota Sheriff's Association. And so I would just say that we appreciate the one-line clarification of the 48-hour rule. And just for context, I would just share, under Minnesota's civil commitment statute, when a person is in jail and the court determines that the person meets the statutory criteria for civil commitment, or the person is ordered confined for examination under the Minnesota rules of procedure under Rule 2001 or 2002, the person must be admitted to a state-operated treatment program within 48 hours. And so this just says specifically that that clock starts ticking at the time of the court's determination. And so we support this amendment, Mr. Chair.
Members, any questions for Senator Abler? All those in favor of the A5, correct? A5 amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you there.
Mr. Chair, from my perspective, you can say third reading. Thank you.
Is he going to, Senator Wickland, is he going to get me in trouble by saying third reading on this? Is it? Speaking of reports, Nikki, honorable counselor. We got to get another microphone. I love it. Rick Cardenas would have done the same thing.
Hello, Chair.
Do you need another mic or you're good?
I think this is great. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to speak. My name is Nikki Villavicencio. I'm speaking on my behalf today, on my own behalf, no one else's. If some of the members who were here before remember, my partner Daryl and I, we pushed a bill very excitably about parenting with a disability. And we passed that bill. It took 5 years. And Senator Abler and Senator Hoffman were both authors on the bill many times, and I appreciate all the work that you guys did on that. And it was sent to the Department of Human Services, in which they were supposed to do a report and give you the report this year, 2023. And I've been very patiently trying to work with the department on making sure that this report was given to you, and it has not been given to you, and I've been told that it will not be given to you this year. So I'm just very frustrated by that process, and I just want to bring it to the senator's attention that there are still many children that are being taken away from their parents solely based on the fact that they have a disability.
Do you remember? Yeah, 6 years. I remember being over the house with you two. I remember Derek.
I think we started in 2017.
Yeah. So was there a date, do you remember?
It says in the statute that they're to give the report in 2023.
In 2023, so that can be, all right. So I guess the
So
clarification.
there's still a little room there, but I'm just getting nervous on timelines here. I know you
gotcha.
all are very busy, and I really appreciate all the work that you do.
No, I thank you too for that. I guess the question, Senator Abler, maybe we can send a, sounds like, just on that, it's forthcoming soon. Senator Abler, I got a note from Matt Burdick that it sounds like it's forthcoming soon, and so.
Well, that's good.
Maybe, Matt, we can follow up, Burdick can follow up to an email to this committee just about, I think there's the couple of reports that are out there. Matt, maybe you can just give us an update on that. Is that fair for you guys? Senator Abler, is that fair?
That's perfect. So you'll be meeting, well, you're going to be here, so you can get us a clear update when you get something, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it would be, Mr. Burdick, maybe when you get it, maybe if it's during a committee time, just come and give us we miss having you down here anyway, so.
And Mr. Chair, maybe after deadlines, and if, we're sitting around just waiting to pass bills, we could have a little hearing, and if it's done by the end of session, we could actually listen to it. Get that report brought to us as an informational hearing.
And maybe we could even do Rasmussen's 2 subcommittees that he's going to put together for us.
That'd be perfect,
And
Mr.
start
Chair.
having those, right?
Thank you so much, Chair and Senators. I appreciate watching you and listening to you and all the hard work you do. And, parenting with a disability, I think, we need to look at that. There's a lot of work being done, and we need to be looking at it at a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint. Because, folks with disabilities, we're a culture and a community of ourselves, and we're going to keep pushing. So thank you so much.
And thank you for educating people on that intersectionality piece that you just threw out there, Nikki. I appreciate your work, Honorable. Awesome. Daryl, you got to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say we should go one step further. It's not DEI, it's DEIA. A stands for accessibility.
Thank you.
We love being in the Senate because it's more accessible than the House, but hopefully we'll change that soon, so.
I wish you could have said that louder so we could hear. We love being in the Senate because it's more accessible than the House. I like that. So thanks, Daryl. I appreciate you.
It's more accessible, especially in the bathrooms.
I know. You can, Rick Cardenas. Thank you. Members, anybody else have any amendments? Wow, what happened to this thread? It was going to have 35 amendments over here. It's like, I'm kidding. It was like, waiting for the floor. Questions, none. Any further discussion on the bill? We heard from folks about it. Any closing comments? Senators, anybody want to say anything about the process, the bill, anybody? Anyone?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Abler.
It's a good bill.
Thank you, Senator Abler. So Senator Abler moves that Senate File 2818 as amended be recommended to pass and be sent to the floor to be placed on general orders. Everybody clear on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. There it is. Congratulations, the Senate, it's going to the floor. So thank you, members. It was amazing. Look at that. That was good work. Thank you for your hard work on the policy side. Budget side, Monday, there's going to be, we're going to have a whole bunch of bills that we need to process through because we've still been waiting on fiscal notes. But in order to try to get our Senate position on things, we want to make sure. Oh my, that's just Senator Utke. You got a question you want to ask? It's like, so senators, I think let's hear those bills and let's then get ready to start marking up our budget bill then later that evening. So we're going to need some work and make sure you're looking in there we're going to need help on this. So if there's anything missing, Kevin should be sending out the stuff fairly soon, but if there's anything missing that needs to be added, I plan on just keep going. Do we have this place Monday night for as long as we need it? So I'll plan on hanging out as long as, we can, and, just I appreciate everybody hanging in there. So any thoughts, questions? No questions? Senators? Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.